Vision Quest. To some, it's one of the greatest Fire Emblem ROM hacks of all time. Great maps, memorable characters, and one of the most influential games in all of Fire Emblem ROM hacking. To others, it's a cookbook with a neat side game. Yes, one of the most well-known quirks of Vision Quest is its obsession with food. The characters talk about food in support conversations. They talk about it in story cutscenes. They even talk about it in boss battles. This game loves food so much that one of the best known secrets about this game is that in the in-game guide, right next to all the tutorials and the world-building lore, is a cookbook filled with some of the creators' favorite dishes to make. And whenever people mention this cookbook, the obvious question comes up. Has anyone actually tried any of the recipes in Vision Quest? Well, as you can see by the title, I can do you one better. I won't just be fixing one dish, I'll be fixing all of them and telling you how good I think each one is. But just telling you about these recipes isn't quite enough, so I'm also going to show you. With the help of my wonderful sibling here, who has agreed to help film me, I'm going to make all 5 dishes from the Vision Quest cookbook, and the two of us are going to eat them, rank them from 1 to 5 stars, and then at the end of it all, we're going to make a tier list, ranking them from best to worst.
Boom.
With all that explanation, I've worked up a bit of an appetite, so let's get started on our first dish. We're going to kick things off with banana bread. Banana bread is a recipe that I'm sure many of you tried making during COVID. It's a great way to make use of some bananas that have been sitting around for a little too long, or so I've been told anyway. I've never actually made banana bread before, so this will be a first for me, and I also haven't baked a lot in general, so I ask for a little extra patience on this one. Alright, starting off with banana bread, we have 5 bananas here. We're going to cut them up and mash them in this bowl. We are going to add 1 egg, half a cup of mayonnaise, and as an optional ingredient, I'm also adding a cup of instant coffee. We're going to stir this up nice and good and then get started on the dry ingredients. For our dry ingredients, we're going to start off with 1.5 cups of flour, and to that, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and I'm also choosing to add just a dash of cinnamon. And just like with the wet ingredients, we're just going to mix these up nice and good. And now that we've got both of the halves nice and mixed, we're going to mix them both together. You don't want to over mix it, so I'm just going to stir these until they're just combined. I did forget to add sugar, so we're going to add 3/4 cup of white sugar. You can go less if you want. All right. We've got our ingredients nice and mixed up. We've added them to a greased up loaf pan, and we're gonna drop it in the oven at 350 for about an hour. Took a little bit longer than I thought it would, but after about an hour and a half, you check it with a toothpick. Toothpick comes out clean. That means it's ready to serve. So after waiting the proper amount of time for it to cool, which was about an hour, that's what the final result looks like. Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, I'm a little mixed on whether I should do like 2 stars or 3 stars, so I'm just gonna do like 2.5 stars. The flavor was really good. I liked the little pinch of cinnamon in there, but I had way too many wet ingredients. You can really tell I haven't done any baking in a very long time. What do you think?
You know, I agree that I really like the flavor as well. But I also agree on the fact that there was too many wet ingredients. It was a little more moist than I typically like. So I'll give it a 3 stars because it did taste good.
Oh yeah, I'll be going back for seconds, but I think the other recipes might have a little more potential. Oh, all right. All right, I'm waking up for the second and hopefully the final day of our Vision Quest cookbook video. It doesn't look like my sibling is up yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and fix coffee, and future me is gonna tell you all what's for breakfast. For breakfast, we're gonna be having an omelet. The omelet is a staple of the American diet, so I've made quite a few of these things before, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with it as well. In an omelet, the eggs really act as a canvas for whatever fillings you want, and the Vision Quest recipe uses them as a canvas for spinach and sriracha. This omelet is for 2 people, so we're gonna start out by cracking 5 eggs into a bowl. And then to that bowl, we're gonna add a few cranks of pepper, a squirt of sriracha sauce, and a pinch of Old Bay seasoning. And we're just gonna mix this up until there are no visible egg whites. We got our eggs mixed up, so we're going to throw a pan with some non-stick spray over medium-low heat, and we're gonna chop up 3 scallions. And now that the pan has come up to temperature, we're going to add in our scallions, as well as, this is 6 ounces of spinach. Do we wanna, that much? Maybe. I was informed by my legal team that that was still too much spinach, so we're gonna call this about 4 inches of spinach, and we're gonna add our eggs. All right, it's just about done. So we're gonna flip this and plate it. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna cut it. Add a little sriracha on top, and it's done. All right. It's not bad. I feel like the omelet was missing like cheese or something. Maybe I cooked it for a little bit too long. It was a little dry, but I think 3 stars is fair. If we add like feta cheese, that's like 4 or 5 star category. But what do you think?
I'll give it a 3 stars because the potatoes were a little bit dry, but I enjoyed the potatoes and on top of the omelet.
Yeah, funny story about the home fries. Actually, right at the bottom of the recipe, it says the omelet goes really well with home fries, including this home fry recipe that's in this very game. The home fry recipe, not in the game. I had to just get some store-bought ones. Do we need the Vision Quest sequel for the home fry recipe?
Yes.
You heard him. Chickens actually make up a pretty substantial part of Vision Quest. In one of the most memorable maps in the game, the Honeydew Garden, you have to protect a flock of chickens in order to get a reward. It's a cute way to spice up a chapter, and let's see if they're worth saving. Next up is going to be the simplest recipe of them all. We've got chicken thighs. This is a baking sheet with some non-stick spray on it. 4 chicken thighs, skin side up. We're gonna hit each of them with a little bit of oil. Yeah, we are. And then we're just gonna spread that around. Coat it nice and evenly. And then we're just gonna season them on all sides with salt, pepper, chili powder, and the recipe says rosemary, but I don't really care for rosemary, so we're not gonna do that. Instead, we are gonna season them with garlic powder as well. Finally, we're going to hit the skin of the chicken thighs with some Old Bay seasoning to help it crisp up a little more. And we've got the oven on 450, so we're just gonna toss these in for 1 hour until it's fully cooked and the skin is nice and crispy. And with the hour I had to cook the chicken, I finished up the meal with some mashed potatoes and green beans. All right, first bite. The chicken, honestly, I kind of had low hopes for it. The recipe talks about how easy it is and how like it's a very low effort recipe, and how that hour can let you fix sides. You saw I made mashed potatoes and green beans. I changed clothes and I cleaned up all the dishes I used. So I was expecting this chicken to be like okay, but like nice and economical. This is a 5. This is 5 stars for me. It's crisp, it's juicy, the spices give it a lot of flavor. It's everything I could want in a chicken. What do you think?
I think for this meal, I'll give it a 4 out of 5, only because though the flavor was spectacular, none of it was dry. The only issue I had was with the skin of the chicken. It was kind of hard to like get a good bite that would like rip apart. It would come off as like a big bite. But like other than that, it was amazing and I loved it.
Yeah, best one so far.
Definitely.
For sure. These last 2 dishes have us shifting from regular American foods to foods that Pandan tried for the first time during some trips he took to Asia. This one specifically is from his trip to Singapore. I'm sure many of you don't even know what kaya is, but it's a kind of custard that people eat by spreading on toast. Pandan seems to have really fallen in love with it, since kaya is a rare and special stat booster in Vision Quest itself, and Pandan's username actually comes from the main ingredient in kaya. So, you know, if there's one recipe in this video I really want to nail, it's definitely this one. Before we move on to the kaya, I just have one quick announcement to make. I decided now would be a good time to do what is perhaps the most Vision Quest thing possible, and use this food as a write-off on my taxes, so I'm starting a Patreon. I'll have a separate video coming up soon detailing all the Patreon rewards that you get by subscribing, or you can just follow the link to my Patreon in the description of this video. But if you want to support my work here on YouTube, I would be just incredibly grateful. But with that said, let's toss you on back to the recipe. So for kaya, we're going to start off by adding a cup of coconut milk and a cup of sugar to a saucepan. And we're going to mix this up real nice. And next up is the main flavor agent, pandan leaves. Now, these grow in Southeast Asia, so because I live in America, I do not have access to fresh pandan leaves, but I just went to an Asian grocery store and they sell them frozen, pretty cheap too. I think this whole bag was like $3 or something. We're gonna take 8 pandan leaves and tie them into a knot for steeping. So excuse me while I figure out how to tie 8 leaves into a knot. I have decided to tie them into a ring. We're going to put the milk over the burner, steep the leaves. We're going to bring the milk to the boil while making sure the leaves stay submerged as long as possible. The coconut milk was brought to a boil, so we're taking that off the heat and we're going to let the pandan steep in that for about 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to whisk together 3 eggs and 3 egg yolks into this stainless steel bowl. All right, it's been about 10 minutes, so we're going to take out the pandan ring. We're going to wring out just that last little bit of coconut milk, throw this away. And we're going to add the coconut milk into our egg mixture and whisk that together as well. And while we're doing that, we're going to take a pot of water and put it right here, set it to a simmer. Now that our pot is lightly simmering, we're going to switch out our whisk for a rubber spatula and hold the pot over the simmering water while we mix it constantly for about 20 minutes. Okay, this sucked. This was quite a process. Eventually, I decided we had to bring the pot up to boiling and keep the bowl inside the water instead of above it, like I said at first. This whole process took about 45 minutes, but we got the consistency we're looking for, which is I can leave a trail with the spatula that lasts for about 10 seconds in the custard. But since we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and strain it into this bowl, which is a bowl that's sitting over some ice water. So we'll just strain it through here, and then we're gonna mix it once it's in here until the custard is cooled completely, and then we should have our finished product. All right, so with my kind of sloppy pouring, we managed to make a little over 6 ounces of kaya. Here's hoping I got it right. Good. It's interesting. You want to kick us off on this one, actually?
So personally, I really liked this. It kind of tasted similarly to French toast, in my opinion. It was sweet, but you could still taste the eggness in it. I kind of wish I would have tried it with butter, because that sounds like it would have made it really awesome. But overall, I'm gonna give it a strong 4.5 out of 5.
Not bad. Yeah, I definitely agree. I said off camera, but in the recipe, you can also like put butter on the toast and then put kaya on top of the butter. And I'm really looking forward to trying that. We have that extra 6 ounces of kaya, and that keeps for a good couple weeks in the fridge. I'm gonna call it 4 stars. It was a little eggier than I expected, but it's not bad. It might grow on me. Yeah, editor's note here. If you put kaya on buttered toast instead of dry toast, instant 5 stars. It shoots right up for me. The buttered toast version, that's how you should fix it. And I'd totally be willing to make this thing again. It was that good, even though it really sucked to make. Japanese curry is our final recipe here, and this one also has an important role in Vision Quest, if you can believe it. Part of Onderdonk's backstory is that he was taken in by a Kuchingi family when he was injured, and thanks to their kindness and the wonderful food they fed him, he eventually decided to fight back against the invasion he was once a part of. Onderdonk is actually one of my favorite characters from this game, so I'm hoping I can do his favorite meal a little bit of justice. All right, last up we have Japanese curry. For our vegetable base, we're gonna have 1 white onion, 3 carrots, and 1 potato. I'm using a russet potato, but we're gonna peel all of these, dice the onion, and cut the carrot and potato into bite-sized pieces. We've got our pan over medium-low. We've put some oil in there, and now let's fry up the onions. We're going to stir fry these for a few minutes until they're a nice golden color. The recipe is not very specific as to how long you're supposed to cook the onions, so I just did it pretty quickly. Just have them glisten, get them a little bit of color, and then we're gonna add in the rest of our vegetables, the carrots and potatoes, as well as half a pound, so about half this package of ground chicken. We're just gonna let these ingredients get to know each other over the course of about 10 minutes. Okay, our main ingredients have gotten to know each other well enough. I singed it a little bit, but it's fine. So now we're gonna go ahead and add about 3 cups of chicken stock, a little chicken broth. A little risky with this pan, but I think it's fine. And what we're gonna do with that is we're going to bring it up to a boil and then bring it down to a simmer. Simmer it for about 20 minutes until the potatoes are fork tender. Your fork knows better than the timer on that. So leave that alone for a while. But while you're doing that, you're gonna start up a second pot, saucepan, and this is going to be your roux. So you're going to heat it over low heat, and you're going to start with 2.5 tablespoons of oil. There's the half. And you're going to go ahead and add 4 tablespoons of flour. You're going to add 2, right? Yes, 2 tablespoons of curry powder. And then if you like things spicy, then go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of chili powder as well. And you're going to mix all of these up. And what you're gonna notice when you start mixing up the roux, or rather when you get close to completion, the oil is gonna be very quickly absorbed into the flour here. And you're gonna get a lot of stuff that's very clumpy and very hard, very difficult to work with. So while this pan is boiling, you're going to slowly spoon over broth from here into here until you get the roux to be a nice smooth consistency that's very easy to work with. All right, our potatoes are nice and tender, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to combine the roux into the pan with everything else. I actually added more chicken broth to this because I'm not used to working with that pan, but you can see the roux is a nice thick batter. It might even be a good idea to go even thinner with this, but we're going to drop the roux right into this spot here. And the key when you're combining a roux with this is to keep the heat low to minimize clumps. And of course, if you do see any clumps, make sure to break them up. I'm gonna add the rest of the roux here. And we're gonna let that steep for a little while and add those nice spices and flavorings to the rest of the curry. It is right here. We're also going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. Now, once the roux is fully mixed in, you're going to, and this part's important, taste the broth and adjust seasonings accordingly. Normally I need to add a little bit more salt after this. And that's because, fun fact, this is the only Vision Quest recipe that I've actually made before. I've made it maybe 2 or 3 times. And I actually got to talk to the creator of Vision Quest, Pandan, about this recipe. And he gave me 1 secret ingredient that actually improves it by a lot. If you go to the baking goods section of the grocery store, you can find some really dark chocolate, at least 90% cacao. This is actually 100% cacao right here. But what you want to do is, right at the end, you want to break off about a tablespoon. This is a little less of dark chocolate. Drop it right in there. This will improve the color of your curry and give it a nice silky texture. I highly recommend adding the dark chocolate at the end. But yeah, now it's just taste and season, and it'll be ready soon. There we go. But one thing I forgot to mention with the kaya is, now that we have 2 dishes from other cultures, kaya's from Singapore and this is from Japan, I want to know how authentic they are. Pandan here swears that his kaya recipe is authentic, but I'm not gonna say I don't believe him, but I would be pretty shocked if one white guy talking to another white guy through a Game Boy Advance file resulted in authentic Asian cuisine. So if you're from Singapore or Japan, I want to know how close I got, or if this is authentic, or if you all do it differently. Let me know in the comments. But without further ado, all right, I finished up the curry. I like it. No surprises there. I've made it multiple times now. This version of it, not my best work, I will admit. I was rushing because, again, it's quite late. But I would rate it. The one I made today like 3.5, 4 stars, but normally this curry's a good like 4.5. My sibling is unfortunately going to pass on the rating on this one. Seemed to disagree with her quite a bit. But yeah, that's that. So we're gonna toss you on over to the tier list. All right, so both myself and my sibling have ranked the recipes from worst to best, and here is my ranking. You can see, especially off camera, the kaya really blew me away. I think putting it over buttered toast just barely puts it over the chicken, although I go back and forth on this. The curry, still pretty good, but I think it has been surpassed by those two. And the banana bread and the omelette round out the bottom of the list. The omelette I think I made that day was better than the banana bread, but well, I think I could improve the banana bread a lot if I were a better baker. The omelette was kind of at the cap of how good it can be. So those two round out the bottom of my list, and if you see my siblings' list, it's pretty similar. The chicken and kaya were both of our two favorites. The omelette and the banana bread are just okay. And once again, unfortunately, the curry is the only one that gets a did not finish. Although, I think trying spicy food at, like 10 p.m. or whatever we recorded that definitely had to play a role there. But there you go. If you want to try out a Vision Quest recipe, these two are my recommendations, but all of them were at least decent. And with that is the ratings, and that is the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you maybe found a couple recipes you might want to try out. All of these were fun to make, and at the very least, decent. And this was a blast, honestly, even though this took way too long. But I'm gonna leave you, the audience, with one of the quotes from the introduction of the cookbook from Pandan, which is, I hope you can enjoy a great meal with those you love. Thanks for watching.